Remember me from Fridays.
I know. I'm kind of wishing, because we're talking today. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
You two, Emily and Richie, you guys got to go to the Grafton School, local here in Ohio.
No,
And
no wines.
even while just trying to say, hey, we sell these things, you guys were having activity happen that
Yes.
we weren't looking for.
Oh yeah,
I was just trying to find the bathroom.
right. That's all.
That's
To be
how it all
honest,
started.
I was gonna say, yeah, if it wasn't for Emily, I would have probably never really started noticing things because I was so focused on everything else. And then she said something, so I turned my focus away from my booth for a minute, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, you can always count on me to find the ghosts. It was, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was going to say we have some friends rolling in. So just a quick recap.
Yeah.
This past weekend, Emily and Richie, both are paranormal hunters. They were at an event at the Grafton School that was like, yes, it was a paranormal event, but it was like vendors, readers, things like that. But even just sitting at your own table. And Emily, you were just trying to go to the bathroom.
Yes, literally.
Like you weren't out walking around like talking to the mic.
No, I was like, went in the bathroom. It was the vendor bathroom. And I went in and was like, first of all, why is it neon yellow and like green stars all over it? Like it just looked creepy, but immediately felt weird. So because I'm newer with the mediumship and stuff, I went and grabbed Richie and Larry. And it's kind of funny because I like told them go in there and all this. And then, the person running the event was like, that's the women's vendor's bathroom. Like, it's like, oh, sorry. I set them up. Yeah, I set them up a little, but it was really intense. So
Larry's another psychic medium that we work with. Well, through the store, you can get readings with him.
Yeah.
Now, did you have anything happen at either of y'all's tables? Because I didn't get to be there. I was out vending at a Viking festival, and I wish I would have been at the school because it was indoors, warm, and dry. All of which I did not have Saturday and Sunday.
I know, Richie, you were kind of experiencing a lot at your booth. All I really experienced at my booth was like, there was like a hole kind of that went under the stage, and I felt like something was like looking at me the whole time because it was right behind where my back was. So at the booth, definitely, especially with Richie, but I think more it was like these dark, weird rooms that like nobody even really knew were there. She actually said that no one's even investigated there before, which I was so surprised because that's the first place I would have went in. It's like, show me somewhere that's pitch black and like there's something in there, So it turns out Larry was picking up on a child spirit, which funnily enough, I didn't pick up on, and you would think I would because I have, a 6-year-old, but for some reason he didn't pop up for me so much. And I just was getting a sense that like maybe they didn't probably treat the children the very best at that time. I think that the child they were talking about had some disabilities and stuff, and obviously back in that time frame, people did not deal with that in the correct way. So I think he was isolated a whole lot, and that's kind of what Larry was getting at. So yeah, it was kind of sad, honestly, but still very intense.
He did say that the little boy was autistic.
Right. That's what Larry had said, because again, back then there was no understanding for that. You know what I mean? So the school was built in the 30s, I think. So
it was built over different decades. There was parts of it built here, parts of it built here, parts of it built here.
Okay. Yeah, because I know times were different.
You weren't there when she just told me and Larry, but the owner did tell us that area that we're talking about was the special ed classroom.
Which really, to me, felt like just a room that they kind of
like it looked like a storage room. Like
putting
them in there to get rid of them. And I mean, back then autism wasn't, anything wasn't known about it. It was like, oh, the kid's just being
Yeah, he's
bad. Like,
bad.
you're just,
You can't.
but he
Yeah.
wasn't even close to being the bad one there.
No. And I think the name that they picked up on was Teddy.
Yeah.
That's what Larry had said. And like I said, it was interesting that I didn't really pick up on him very much. I picked up on an older man that I felt like was a janitor or a maintenance worker of some kind. The feeling I got was maybe both of them were a little bit isolated, and not really well respected or treated well in that school. And maybe they formed like a little bit of a friendship type of thing. And Larry kind of, again, like validated that, because I still am new with the mediumship, with like trusting what I'm getting, but definitely in the last year coming up for sure.
So Kathy, one of our local friends who comes into the store all the time, says, I stopped at the school, very cool place. Do you know if there will be any tours or hunts there in the future? And what's funny is before we went live, we were like, hey, if we wanted to do one, we would only need to find like 7 more people.
Yeah.
To join, our trio to go in. So keep an eye out on that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Did they happen to say, if either one of you know, if on the school website, are they like posting about any tours or anything of that, even just the history, like if somebody wanted to go in?
I'm not really sure. I think Tri-C Ghost Hunters would probably be the place to look for that, because they are the ones like running the investigations and stuff. Now, from what I understand, it hasn't been like investigated very much, which is awesome, because places like that, imagine being somewhere for however long and then finally somebody wants to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like places like that are normally really ripe with like with activity and stuff. So, because I know like Franklin Castle in Cleveland, for a long time they weren't letting anybody investigate. And I actually watched the video. I'll have to figure out which group it was again. But when they went back in and investigated after so long of no one being there, it was like crazy. So, and Richie, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, the places that we were going in, she said that no one had investigated before.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah. So if we do end up doing a hunt or a tour there, and you guys wanted to join, you would be one of the first people like with us to get to go down there. And I mean, when we are talking about the experiences we had, this is probably a total of 20 minutes that we were down there. Like, this was a really quick, like, I'm going to go down there for a minute or two in between, customers or whatever that were at the booth. So I feel like if we did a full-blown investigation, it would be crazy.
I agree.
Yeah. So I know, Emily, this was your first time being there. Richie, was that your first time being in the school?
I never heard of the place until you told me about the event. And I was like, okay.
Sorry, not sorry.
I actually went to the one room historic schoolhouse first and was like there, and I'm like, there is not a soul here, and it just says closed. So I didn't even know there was that second school. And I was kind of sitting there like, one room schoolhouse, how are we going to do like an event here? So when I pulled up to the actual school, I was like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. Definitely looks haunted. I'll say that.
It does.
Yeah.
So, and guys, keep in mind the experiences these two were having was just literally going to the bathroom in between customer count, and Richie just trying to sit at his table and like, hey, I wrote books and I investigate. So imagine what it would be when you can actually go in the quiet and there's not a bunch of other people. Because Richie, I know, actually you both, I think, have like equipment and other, like dowsing rods. So if you would want to join in on a hunt and you have no equipment, there's some, that you can either help use or be near somebody using and see the results or hear the results.
Yeah. And we had talked about, me and Richie had talked about getting like cat balls. So whoever is investigating is familiar with it. But they're basically like these little balls that have lights in it and they only light up when you hit them. And a lot of the time people use that for like children's spirits and stuff because it's really fun for them. And, you know, it's lighting up and it's colorful. So, and they're really cheap. So I'm sure we'll have those when we go. I have no problem grabbing those. And we have like digital recorders and stuff. But honestly, again, like what we were doing was like minimal, like we didn't even have equipment, you know?
Like we weren't even investigating. We were just kind of like there.
Yeah. I did have an app on my phone that I was using that kind of acts like a makeshift spirit box in a way. So I was really skeptical on if it would work or not. Because it is like an app on a phone, right? But when I had went to the B&O Railroad for an investigation, and I remember I passed like a train car and it said the land, right, in graffiti, because we're in Cleveland. And I felt like something came home with me, right? So I turned my phone thing on just to see what the app would say. And I said, is anybody here? And if you are, where are you from? And the first thing it just said, the land, like capital T, capital L, exactly what was put on the train car. So if anybody would want to download an app and not like, you know, invest in a bunch of equipment, it's called Spirit Talker. I think it's like $2 and it does work. Because again, I was skeptical because it's an app on your phone, but a lot of other like professional investigators use it as well. So worth a shot.
Richie, have you heard of that one, or do you use something similar that you can say, yes, I like it, it works well?
No, I don't have anything on my phone or anything like that. The only thing I have that's even close to oh my goodness, my brain. The only thing I have that's anywhere near that is I do in my ghost hunting toolbox, I have a spirit box.
Okay.
And so I use that. I was earlier this year introduced that. Oh Lord. I did the Estes method for the first time earlier this year, and that there's one of the two rooms that we were talking about. I'm terrified of that room.
Yeah.
I had my back to it and I literally pushed Larry out of my way. I said, get the hell out of my way and let me get my back from this room, because and I walked through the door and I started getting sick.
And this is where I have a problem, because I'm in there like by myself, like, you know, like going, like I told them, I said, I don't really have that like healthy dose of fear that like I should probably have with this kind of stuff. Like I keep myself safe, but I'm like, I really want to know what's down there. But it did feel scary though, like for sure.
Because I'm so messed up in that room, I want to go in there and I want to be the one to go under.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Estes method, if anybody don't know what that is, it's basically sensory deprivation. You know, you have noise canceling headphones on. Some people use a blindfold. I didn't use a blindfold. I mean, down in that basement, if we're sitting with our lights off, you ain't gonna see anything.
You don't need it.
So, but so you can't like see who's talking, and basically the person who's under just says whatever they hear come through the spirit box, because you're the only one that can hear it. Say whatever you hear, and then while the people around you are asking questions, and then you come out and the other people will tell you what made sense and what didn't. Because when you're asking questions and you're listening, it's easy to hear something that isn't really there. You know,
Yeah, like when you're anticipating an answer, sometimes
you
you can,
hear what you want.
yeah, like I don't know if you've ever heard those things where they play an audio and it's like if you're listening for a certain word, you hear that
Yeah.
word and vice versa. So the Estes
Yeah.
method is kind of that foolproof way of making sure that you're getting like accurate answers.
Yeah.
Which is super cool. And then for those who aren't familiar with like the spirit box, it's basically just shuffling through like radio channels, and it's you hear just like a lot of white noise and static. And the belief is that spirits can manipulate that energy and communicate in the way that they want to. So the app that I use is similar to that in a way, but it doesn't have the static and stuff. And because it is like an app on your phone, I would say it might be a little bit less reliable than probably the spirit box. Just a little more cost effective. So, but yeah.
Because I recently bought like a little bitty palm size like spirit box type thing.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine, actually, she lives in my old haunted house, and she's like, let's just go record some stuff and see what happens. And I bought the box, but we haven't done anything yet because I've been so busy. But it was like $120.
Mm-hmm.
You
just
know?
the REM pod. And it's like crazy to me because you see investigators and they've got like 4 of them. And I'm like, what? Like those are $175 a piece.
Producers of TV shows are paying for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm like, and that's the low end. That's like the cheapest one you can find on Amazon is $170. So
I'm like, yeah, no, I'm a walking REM pod. I can tell you, if you want to hear the beep when something walks up on me, I'll scream. That's what we can afford right now.
Right. Like, let me just get a little motion detector, like spy kit. Like, you know, when you were a kid and they sold like those spy kits, like I'll just grab those because not in the budget right now. But for those who do want to get equipment that is more affordable, digital recorders are normally really inexpensive and it's almost like foolproof, right? So it's really easy. You're just asking a question into the recorder, making sure you're giving about 15 to 20 seconds for a response, and then, you know, listening back and seeing what you hear. A lot of people just use flashlights, although now the way that they're made is a little bit more difficult to do it this way. It used to be the turning ones, and you'd kind of put it halfway, and if you tap it, it turns on, and vice versa. But now they make them differently. But like that dowsing rods are really inexpensive. We have a lot of those at the store. So, oh, I don't know if Melissa just popped off or what, but I'll just keep talking. So like the dowsing rods are really inexpensive too. There actually is like a little ghost hunting kit at the store, I think, that you could always use or get. That is, again, a little bit more. Oh, okay. She said she's got to duck out. A little bit more cost effective, right? So wouldn't be like hundreds of dollars. So especially for beginners, but really you don't need anything other than yourself.
Yeah, and one thing that I really enjoy is my K2 meter, and those are super cheap.
I don't know how I forgot about that because I have one of those too, and yeah, super inexpensive.
That's
so
one of my favorite things to use. So it's like,
actually, let me see. I think I might have my stuff like literally right here.
I mean, there's one. I'm looking at one on Amazon, and it's literally $16.99.
Right, and they do work like fairly well. You know, I'm opening up my little kit here because I think I have my stuff in here. So for those who have not seen it, this is a K2 meter. So the concept is you're going to turn it on and it'll light up. Now, when it lights up red, that's how you know there's some really serious activity going on.
Oh, yeah.
So these are, like Richie said, super inexpensive, really easy for somebody who's new to use. Yeah, definitely recommend a K2 meter if nothing else, because at least like it'll validate sort of what you're feeling. Got some dowsing rods here. So you'd hold them when they cross. It's a yes. If they're moving away, it's a no. They can lead you towards where there's higher activity. So that is always a really good tool to have. And then I just have my little digital recorder. This is probably like $20 as well. I will say opening up all my ghost hunting equipment that I got for my birthday, like in front of all my in-laws, exposed me real quick. Not that they were surprised, but yeah, like all of this stuff collectively probably cost about $60. So really affordable and kind of like a really easy, just quick.
Oh, dang.
Quick hunting there. Now,
my ghost toolbox just broke.
Oh no.
I also bought this thing. It's really cool. I have not had a chance to use it. It's a Paralight.
Oh, nice.
It's supposed to work the same way a K2 meter works, but like I said, I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, so would it just like light up different colors depending on the energy level and stuff, or?
I think that's how it's supposed to work.
Okay.
I bought it 2 years ago, but I just haven't had a chance to go out and use it. So, and of course, my handy dandy little see in the dark camcorder.
So does that actually record, or is that just one of the things like a night vision, like scope or whatever? Probably not the right word to use, but you know what I mean.
It's an actual camcorder.
Nice. I have to get a better.
I got to get a better IR light for it because it's only
the infrared.
It's got these little 3 up here in the front, and I was at the reformatory standing probably 5 or 6 feet away from the west cell block, and I couldn't see the cell block.
Okay, gotcha.
So I got to find a better IR light to stick on the bottom of it, but I mean I found one and it's not very expensive. With everything else that I have going on, I haven't had a chance to buy one yet.
Yeah, if you don't mind sending me a link to that at some point, because so right now I just have my phone, which it was sort of funny because like when I was calling to ask about the specs of the different phones and stuff to get it, I had asked him, I was like, yeah, I need the one with like a really good camera, you know, like I need to make sure the camera is good. And he's like, oh, okay, like what do you like to do? You know, why have the camera like that? Why do you need a good camera? And I had to tell this man from T-Mobile, like, oh, ghost hunting, like paranormal investigating and stuff. And we sat there and talked for like 20 minutes about all the different shows and everything. I see a question here. I think that's Sandy, maybe. Any advice for a first timer? My advice would be don't focus too much on the equipment that you're not paying attention to how you feel physically and emotionally. You don't have to be psychic to pick up on this stuff. I am a firm believer that everybody has the ability to be psychic, just some exercise that muscle a little bit more than others. So don't discount what you're feeling. Second piece of advice would be to make sure you're giving them enough time to respond. It takes a lot of energy and effort for them to talk, to be able to touch things, to be able to interact. And it can get really frustrating for them if you're asking a question and then immediately moving on and they feel like they didn't have time to like really answer. So that's my bits of advice. I don't know if Richie, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, you covered it. That was pretty much exactly what I would have said, because when I first started, I was more focused on the equipment and everything rather than what was going on around me. And I had a guy who's been helping with the ghost hunts at the reformatory for years. And he said, listen, I don't give a damn what I get on my equipment. It has nothing on what I feel and what I see.
Yes.
And I'm like, I understand that, but I want to validate what I'm feeling and seeing. He's like, that's fine. Just don't put your focus on it.
Yes.
He's going to use it as a validation. Yes. But you're putting all of your attention on that. and you're basing the success of your investigation on what you're seeing on your equipment and not everything else.
Right.
He said there's 100 things going on over here, but you're only seeing the one thing that's happening over here because you're focused on this equipment.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's like, you can have the feelings that you have validated by the equipment, but it does come from the feelings first. Like paying attention to what you're feeling will help you know what questions to ask and like how to actually approach it. And I think that's where things get a little convoluted sometimes with like the paranormal investigating, is people don't, because they are people that you're talking to at the end of the, well, most of them were people at some point, right?
So making absolute statements in the
I'm like, wait a minute. Well, but most of them were people at one point, and they just want to share their story. I think too, Richie, what we kind of talked about is a lot of paranormal investigators kind of go in, like especially home investigations and stuff. Like if your house is haunted, I wouldn't just recommend having like a paranormal team that isn't super vetted come. A lot of the time they come, they ramp up activity, they antagonize the spirits to get them to respond so they can get their evidence, and then they dip out. And you're left to suffer the consequences of that. So yeah, having respect for the spirits you're talking to. I don't recommend antagonizing at all. I know that on certain shows, I'm not going to like name names, but on certain shows, they really antagonize and don't really have respect for the dead. And those people end up getting it back. So just be careful and know who you're dealing with, you know?
Absolutely. I agree. It's like, you know, there's certain places where it's like, okay, I can almost understand it. Like if you're
sorry, I just saw Brooke's comment. I'm so sorry, Richie. Go ahead.
Like, I will name names, and we're like, no.
No, funny. We don't want to get canceled like everybody else. But anyway, what was I saying? Oh yes, like prisons and maybe asylums and stuff. I can almost see it, but like when you're being called into somebody's home to help them, they're already scared. They're already
right,
or you wouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah, and that's
you're going in, you're provoking, you're pissing things off, and then you're going to go home in a few hours, and now now your client who you're supposed to be helping is stuck here living with this thing and dealing with the ramifications of what you did.
Yeah.
And it's like, for me, I'm sitting here watching these shows and I'm like, man, I promise if you would have came in my house acting like that, the first thing that I would have did was as soon as you left, I would have said, whatever is here, go with them.
Yeah, they liked you so much that they want to just no, I see what you say. It is. It's like people call for help, and then they don't always get the help that they need. So I won't mention the names of the shows that we did say we like because I don't know about if we're allowed to or not. But what I will say is we talked about how I appreciate when they actually bring mediums in, who can actually help the spirits that are there, and then they give advice on what to do to help the situation that you're in. When I'm in an investigation, I always say, which I think I got this from like a YouTuber that I watched that I really like them, the way that they handle it with a lot of compassion. But every time they leave out the door after an investigation, they say, and if you want to leave, you can leave too. They say, you can't come home with me, but you can go to the light, you can move on, and try and help them know that it is okay for them to leave. So they're just not trapped there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Crystal Cat says, Mom said I used to talk to misty people as a kid.
Yeah. You might have some latent mediumship abilities because my mom said that about me too. So yeah, my mom's like, you had so many imaginary friends when you were a kid. And I'm like, don't think they were imaginary. So I always tell people, if you were really afraid as a child, like if you had a lot of fear, you didn't want to be in the dark, you didn't like, and of course, like all kids have some fear. Okay. All kids are going to be afraid a little bit. But there is a difference between this like visceral fear. Like I know something is here with me right now. Now experiencing that again as a parent for my son telling me like, Mom, there's something in my room. First of all, I'm like, oh crap, like I'm the adult here. So like I have to actually go in there and do something about this. Right. Like, but I try and never tell him like, oh, it's not real or he's imagining it. I also don't say like, yeah, there's a ghost in your room, because I'm not trying to terrify my child. But as a kid, all kids are really more open, but if you caught yourself really having a lot of imaginary friends, being super afraid a lot of the time, just saying things that adults were like, why are you saying that? You might have some abilities in there for sure. So
I was looking. Oh, here it is. So Cindy from Goddess Elite was also out in Grafton with you guys, and she's like, "Yep, that bathroom was active." So even more confirmation from yet another person.
She was funny. She's like, I don't want to go in there. She's like, I'm about to find a tree. Like I'm not. She's like, I do not want to go in the bathroom. She tells me if you hear yelling or if I'm not back in 5 minutes, come and get me.
Richie will.
Yeah.
Nope, I'm a boy. I'm not allowed down there.
Yeah. I accidentally told everybody to go. Larry goes, thanks a lot. And he goes, I got kicked out of the women's room.
But see,
and they like put a sign up after the fact, like, because I told them to go down there and they wrote down like women's restroom only and stuck it up. I was like, I'm sorry about that.
When we first got there, they did say the vendor's restroom is down there. They did not specify.
Right.
So I don't know what made them decide that they were going to make it that way, but like the men's room was just as bad.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was using the restroom, and there's a sign on the door. Well, there was a sign on the door, and it says, "This door doesn't lock, so please knock." So I was getting ready to dry my hands, and I heard a knock on the door, and I'm like, I'll be out in just 1 second. I'm drying my hands. I didn't hear nothing else. So I'm like, I walked out. There was nobody in the little hallway that the bathroom was in. And then I stepped out into the main hallway, and there was nobody there. Everybody was literally in the gym. Like I was the only one right in that area. On the tour, when we ended the tour, that used to be the nurse's station.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh, okay. So somebody needed to see the nurse.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. I feel like the entire time there, it's funny because I was almost like, imagine trying to do readings somewhere that, you know what I mean? Like as a medium, you'd be like, okay, is this your person or is this random? It's random, like child, they're a janitor, whoever it is, you know?
Yeah.
One more piece of advice that I'll give people is if you go on a hunt, like don't forget to tell them that they can't come with you. I am normally like religious about that and made a mistake and I did not say that. And one of our mediums, Maria, at the store was like, hey, and this was outside the store that she mentioned it because the store's warded and stuff, but she just saw me like walking in and she's like, you need to make sure when you're leaving to tell them that you don't want to make any more friends. She's like, if you're going to develop this mediumship stuff, you need to be better about like setting boundaries. So that's advice I would give to people too, like, because you'd asked earlier, I know we kind of moved past that question, but like first time advice I would give, greet the spirits, introduce yourself, and then when you leave, like say that they are not allowed to follow you.
100%.
You should have some form of protection on you as well. Like some people wear a cross or a rosary. I'm a crystal person, so I'll wear like black tourmaline. Yeah, and I always ask like my guides and ancestors to kind of look out for me. So that's just some advice that I would give, which really you could do that every day anyway, but especially when you're investigating.
Yeah, I've never once failed when leaving an investigation. Be like, okay, if anybody came out the door with me, go right back inside.
Yep.
you're
I
not
learned my lesson. I think part of it too was because I wasn't necessarily even there to like investigate. You know, I was there to
Yeah.
run the table for the shop. So like it didn't even occur to me. And I kind of left like suddenly too, you know, like randomly
Yeah.
like I didn't expect to go back to the store, but I did. So I just like didn't think about it. And I'm like, well, I'm kind of glad that I didn't go just like straight home,
Yeah.
you know, and I had a Maria there to be like, you didn't do what you should be
Yeah.
doing. So
So yeah,
yeah.
your janitor was outside the store wondering why he couldn't get in,
Right.
but like waiting for you to come out later. Like,
Right. And it is
Yeah.
funny too, because I was the only one that picked up on that guy and everybody else picked up on the kid. So I don't know. He must have liked me, I guess. I don't know, but
No,
I'm
that's not
glad.
that's not true either, because
What?
that you were the only one with the
Oh,
janitor.
okay.
Because remember, I came up to you when the owner was standing there talking to
Oh,
me.
I remember now. Right.
Yeah. So what had happened was I was sitting at my table, just relaxing. Nobody was there. I was going through my phone, and I seen something out the corner of my eye because where they had me set up, like I was right there by the stairway, which was nice. But so I looked over and I seen a janitor, and
Oh,
then he looked at me, and then I literally started feeling like I was having a heart attack.
oh, wow.
And I'm like, okay, she was right. It was a janitor, and he died from a heart attack. And I went over and told her that, and then the owner of the building was standing there. She's like, "You're not the first person to say that."
You know what? I actually remember that conversation now because I just meant like initially when we went down there, like, you know, the kid didn't make himself known to me, but I do recall now that you said that, like, that she said other people had picked up on that in an investigation, which was really cool validation for me because, like I said, like developing medium, trying to like just say what I pick up instead of, you know, doubting myself. So it was really cool to kind of pick up on all of that and then have her and you validate it. Now, I didn't realize you'd actually seen him. I thought you had just felt the heart attack symptoms, but that's crazy.
Yeah, no, I've seen him, and then I
Wow.
felt that, and I was
Wow.
and then he kept coming back for more. That's the problem.
now,
Yeah.
does that happen often for you, Richie, where you get that the physical sensations of that part of your mediumship?
It used to when I was actually, you know, when I was like volunteering at the reformatory or when I was actually doing investigations all the time. But since I have, you know, when I stepped away for the 5 years that I was away from the paranormal, if it did happen, I completely ignored it or I passed it off as something else because I wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
But now I'm coming back and I'm starting to give it the recognition it deserves. It's like, okay, so this is what happened. Like I already knew that area was the special ed room because at Post-Town Elementary School, my head hurts in a certain place in the special ed classroom or in an asylum. I'll get a pain in a certain spot. I got that pain down in that room. But because it's been so long, you know, I didn't put 2 and 2 together right away.
Right.
And I was like, you know, it was one of those things. It's like, wait, this pain, if like your memory is kicking in, it's like, okay, it feels like I've had this before. I know this exact feeling. What is it?
Yeah.
And the owner told us about it being the special needs room. And I'm like, that's right. I get that feeling every time I go into the special needs classroom at Post-Town.
Yeah. I think I see the comment here.
Yeah, BMF says, I don't have to go look for the paranormal. They come to me.
Yeah. Again, might be a sign that you're a medium. Yeah. I always say that, especially with customers that come in that are like, it's so crazy. Every house I've ever lived in is haunted. And I'm like,
nope.
Like, I don't know if that's the case. I think you probably just pick up on stuff. So that's really interesting. And Richie too, it's interesting that me and you have completely different versions of how the mediumship is. Like for me, I don't pick up on a lot of physical stuff at all. Now, I don't know if that's because I pretty much am like never present in my body and just like live up here. So I don't, for me, it's like information.
Yeah.
Like just pops in, right? You're a medium. That's really cool.
You know, and it's funny because I think some people, when those start tapping in, those are those customers that come in and maybe even go up to you, Witchy, and be like, you're going to think I'm weird, or this is going to sound off the wall. And I'm like, do you see where you are? Tribe. And so there's like that little bit of a denial. And then, you know, the whole like uncertainty and trying to find people that can help sort that out.
Yeah.
Not make them feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, in this community, you know, it's easy to talk about it, easy to, you know, find the people that aren't going to be like, you're weird, go away. You can't sit with us. So that being said, I think like, I'm pretty sure we're going to end up scheduling something at Grafton. We were just going to have to decide how soon, especially to be the first ones right now.
Definitely. It's definitely a absolute must for me.
Yeah. So if you're new and you've never gone hunting and you're skittish, like, I don't know what I'm doing, like, there's plenty of people that have and can help guide you and teach you. And you know, I think at some point we maybe need to do a stream on like a code of ethics. Here's what you do, what you don't do, what you
absolutely.
Don't go around roid raging.
I have rules. I have rules, and I tell anybody, well, not that anybody has gone with me for a long time, but when I did have people who would go, I'm like, these are the rules. If you deviate from what I'm telling you, how we're gonna do this, you're not gonna go with me again.
And it's a safety thing. It's not to try and have control or to anything. It is a safety thing. You are putting yourself at risk by going. Now, if you protect yourself and if you do things the right way, like, it's great. And especially being with people who are a little more experienced is a really good thing too, because, you know, making sure we're keeping everybody safe. I know one of the biggest things is like being really careful. Like if you go off on your own, fine, but you, like in a couple of the hunts that I've been in, it's like, we need to know where you're at type of thing. Like you can't just go off in the basement. Nobody knows you're down there. Not only for physical safety, what if you were to fall or, you know, you're in the pitch black, you could fall and hit your head and nobody would know about it until however long, until we went and found you. But also spiritually, you know, when you're alone, you're kind of opening yourself up a little more. So people just at least need to know where you're at, what you're doing.
You're a lot more vulnerable at that point. And that's why that's like my biggest rule is the buddy system. I will not go anywhere by myself for that reason.
So Sandy, maybe we'll have Sandy and Richie, because Sandy's like, I'll still come as a newbie. I won't yell at a spirit, but I might scream a lot.
That's funny.
Every once in a while, something catches me really, really off guard, and you hear some not so nice words come out of my mouth. Something actually scared me at the school, and I cussed, and then I was like, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And somebody who was with me was like, why are you apologizing? I was like, it's an elementary school. It was I probably just cussed at a child.
That's funny.
I'm sure they heard it from the janitor long before we ever stepped foot in the building.
Probably so. But
that's funny.
After having taken a tour of the rest of the building, I can tell you that if you are jumpy and you are, you know, you do, and you don't want to you don't want to start out right away going into a situation like that special needs room or under that stage. That cannot be your first place to go.
Right. Yeah. BMF is like, you need to set a code of ethics with the entities around you. Have to have them respect yours respect theirs. It'll help make you closer.
Absolutely.
That's so true. Me and Richie were talking about that actually. It's like, I call it business hours.
Yeah.
Like after 7 p.m., y'all can leave me alone. Like, I'm sorry, but this is my rest time. You know, I'm normally pretty my house is very warded. If it were just me, I wouldn't be so weird about some struggling spirits and stuff. But because like my son is really sensitive, I don't really like communicate with them in my home necessarily because he just isn't there yet to like not be afraid, which of course he's 6. So like, I don't really communicate with them at my house, but it is so true what you're saying about setting up the code of ethics, like, you know, setting up business hours. I always tell people tell them like you are not allowed in the bathroom. Like you cannot come in the bathroom for any reason or, you know, getting dressed, like things like that. They need to respect your privacy just as if they were a living person. And you can set boundaries like that. They want to be able to talk to you. So for the most part, if they are positive spirit, they're going to respect what you say in order to get what they want out of it too. Because it is like a transactional type of relationship in a way, you know?
Now, we're getting close to 11. So real quick, just to pimp out the people on the screen, Richie and Emily. Richie, you have a YouTube that you put up videos about your hunts, your books, and all those fun things. And that YouTube channel is Journey into the Unknown with Richie. So go check him out. And I'm sure anything that we schedule later, you know, there'll be videos and information up about that. He also has a group page on Facebook. Side note online, I got to get with you about making an actual name and get those numbers off of your your title there. And make it look fancy for you. Emily is one of our readers and workers. So Emily's actually going to be reading in the store today. If you're local and you want to pop in, get a reading with her, you can. She can also do Zoom. So if you're not local and you don't mind readings via Zoom, which I think most people are pretty okay with now, especially COVID. Like COVID taught us all how to deal with new ways of doing things. And Emily also has an Instagram. So that is the title of her Instagram page. I couldn't put the link up there because, you know, Instagram doesn't like desktop. So it would not like telling me password was wrong. It's not. So
I meant to tell you my podcast too, if you're okay with me plugging that real quick.
You only get 2 plugs, ma'am. I don't care.
It's called My Spiritus Mundi. So same as the Instagram page. It's on Spotify. I only have 2 episodes. So I just started, but if you feel like listening, go right ahead. Also, if you like want a book and don't want to go off of the link and stuff, you can always DM me on Instagram so we can figure something out.
Oh, thank you, Chris. She's like, this stream was awesome. Great job, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Lourdes. Everybody likes your puppy dog, Richie.
One of you guys can come get her.
Right. What is her name?
Luna.
Luna. Aw, that's a good name for her. It could be biased.
You know, herself, actually.
Right.
That was not her name originally. She named herself.
Oh,
that's cute.
Do you ever take her on any investigations?
No, I haven't been on. I mean, I've only been on like one since I got her. So,
gotcha.
And she's a little psychopath. So, I still can't get her to walk beside me. And if the wind blows too hard, she barks. So it's like I need to. She is an emotional support animal, so she is registered, so she is allowed to go with me everywhere.
Awesome.
But like I said, she's a psychopath, so I'm not taking her anywhere yet.
Well, Chris is one of our other she is one of our readers. She's an animal communicator, and Richie, she's telling you she's happy.
I didn't know you were an animal communicator, Chris. Mm-hmm. That is so cool.
Yeah, so Chris, gonna wrangle her in for the November psychotic fair.
Yeah.
She's not with us for October because she's actually handling doing the readings for me at an event that's a charity event that they want to store at. And I'm like, and it's a dog walk fundraiser to help support suicide awareness.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, it's a dog walk. I've got the reader for you. So Chris will be out there. Otherwise, you can come catch her in the store for November. Chris, we'll have to get your links up. And Chris, do you want to read tonight? Because guess what we're doing tonight? We're doing the Woo Woo Wednesday readings tonight. So if you're available and you want on Twitch only, join us and get some readings. Chris also does tarot. So, but if you have a puppers or kitty cat or whatever, Chris can help with that.
Now, Chris, does she communicate with animals who are passed as well? Okay, cool. I'd love to talk to Stewie one day. So my little black kitty that's gone now. So
Isn't today Chris's birthday?
Is it Chris's birthday?
I believe so.
And
happy birthday!
Sandy will be with us. Hey, Nanette. Speaking
Nanette!
of reader, like all the readers are popping in. Hey, Nanette.
Nanette, I miss you. Nanette is one of the people that we kind of want to rope into all of the paranormal stuff here. So, yeah, she's very, very good. I don't think she calls herself a medium, but like she is. Sorry, Nanette, but you are.
Yesterday was Chris's birthday, so happy belated, Chris. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I knew it was somewhere around there.
Yeah, thank you all for tolerating me popping on, though. This was really fun. So I'll definitely be back. I know you all probably recognize me from Fridays, and then if you come to the store, I'm basically like always there. So
yeah. And so speaking of Fridays, Friday, this topic that you'll be talking about, I'll be in the back supporting color magic, right?
Yeah, so something simple, but also sometimes very underrated. So we can talk about that. And
so today's Nanette's birthday. Well, happy birthday, Nanette.
Happy birthday.
Nanette, happy birthday.
Aw.
Yeah, all these Libras.
Well, thanks for joining our stream, guys, and listening to all the fun events, if you want to call them fun, that Emily and Richie got to have in Grafton at the school. And keep an eye out. Sounds like we're going to be putting a haunted tour, walk, something there at the school together. So if you want to join us, keep an eye on the webpage, and I'm sure on Richie's information and Emily's.
Yeah, I'll blast it. Don't worry.
You guys can note and join. But thanks for joining, guys. We'll be back next Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Yep. You have an awesome night. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Hey.